Hi, Jared Dennis here. Welcome to episode 9 from the Success Council. I know a lot of people got very fired up over our last episode. If you recall, we exposed the sinister outcomes of the GM bailout. Then we revealed how Obama called it a complete success, and further added that his plan, if reelected, was to spread the communist philosophy throughout all industry. If you have not seen it, it is a must-watch. Today, we'll be talking about an equally hot topic, the issue of gun control. Now, almost certainly you'll have an opinion on this, but what are the facts? Here are the arguments for both sides. Let's start with the argument for gun control. Here's what I found.
It's about the weapons, the guns. Where did the killer get them?
They're shocked at how easy it is to purchase a gun.
It is simply too easy to obtain a firearm.
More guns very simply lead to more violence.
If you actually believe fighting gun crimes with guns are the solution, you're highly mistaken. Maybe we should wonder why we have one of the highest crime rates from all the modernized nations. And another viewer agreed. The bad news for crimes involving guns, the U.S. rate is incredibly high compared to other developed nations. We have the highest crime rate, and the other developed nations are not even close to our horrible death rate, killing each other with guns.
This is in fact the only argument I can find pushed forward by those who wish to ban guns. It is true that America has a very high gun-related crime rate. Of that, there is no doubt. The argument follows that the reason for the high crime rate is that America has so many guns and they are so freely available. The solution, ban guns, which means less guns, which means less gun crime, makes sense to me. Well, worth testing at least. So if we wanted to test it and find out if it really were true, what would we do? Perhaps the first test would be, has it ever been tried anywhere in America before, and what were the results?
The belief that gun control prevents gun crime is why many were upset this spring when
A bombshell court ruling could put handguns back in D.C. homes.
a court threw out Washington, D.C.'s 30-year ban on guns. And that's outrageous, said public officials.
I don't know how anyone could be serious in saying that, because the gun violence went up when they banned handguns.
Since Washington's gun law passed, the murder rate actually increased, even while America's murder rate dropped.
Many people don't realize that today in America, in about 40 states, it is legal to carry a concealed weapon on your person.
And in those 40 states, there is no more violent crime or murder than in states where guns are restricted. The town of Kennesaw, Georgia, went a step further and passed a law requiring every household to have a gun. Did they then experience a crime wave? No.
Well, after the city ordinance passed, there was actually a decrease in reported crime in the Kennesaw area, especially violent crime.
Banning guns seemed to have the opposite effect. Although I could not find a pro-gun person refuting this evidence, I tried my best to argue for them. Perhaps criminals were buying guns in neighboring easy gun states. If it were nationwide, it may work. So how do we test this theory? Have any Western countries tried to ban guns recently? The answer is yes. Australia banned guns in 1997. What can we learn from Australia?
A gun buyback that forced law-abiding citizens to surrender their firearms in a nationwide roundup and meltdown of all semi-automatic firearms and pump-action rifles and shotguns. 640,000 ordinary conventional firearms confiscated and destroyed.
I had to hand them in because if I didn't, I was going to jail.
There's no ifs or buts about that. By taking that gun away from me, they've stolen something from me.
A right stolen by their government, promising safety in return for its gun bans. But now citizens know the frightening truth. The cost of lost liberty can be measured in the loss of life. Cold, hard facts the anti-gun forces can no longer escape. Armed robberies have skyrocketed, up 69%. Assaults involving guns rose 28%. Gun murders increased 19%. And a new phenomenon, home invasions jumped 21%. Scars that never heal. Citizens left powerless. But it's criminals who have been empowered and emboldened by the new gun laws because the innocent can't fight back.
What's happening today is that the offender, the bad guys, are happy to break into somebody's house. They're not frightened to break into somebody's house while they're at home.
Citizens denied the right to protect themselves by a justice system that won't and police who can't. They're undermanned, and morale has never been lower. A political fraud, gun bans that haven't made a difference, and gun owners now struggling to stop a growing momentum against them.
The people pushing the removal of guns from the Australian society are already saying that's only the first step. Publicly, that's only the first step. Now we want the handguns, we want every other firearm.
They're warning to Americans, don't think it can't happen to you. It can, and it already is.
Unless you, as a firearms owner, get off your butt now and start to oppose those that want to take them off of you right here and now, I would say that within 5 to 10 years, the restrictions on gun owners in America will be similar to what happens in Australia.
Don't trust your politicians. Get in there, keep on their backs. Be a member of the NRA, be a member of your local gun club.
Be part of the NRA and never, ever, ever give up your freedoms, because that's, in the end, that's all you've got.
If you think you have rights, tomorrow the government can take them away from you.
I think the Americans have to be very, very careful, because, you know, their rights will be quickly eroded, as ours have, and we don't have a chance in hell of getting those rights back.
But what about Columbine, Virginia Tech, or the very recent Batman shootings in Colorado? What are the facts about that?
You were in the restaurant with them, and you claimed that had you been able to carry a concealed weapon, you could have helped save the lives of your parents. How?
Well, you sure can't argue with the fact that it would have changed the odds. People like this go into places that are gun-free zones. I mean, if you pay attention to what's been going on for the last 20 years, all of these mass shootings have been in these so-called gun-free zones. I think we've created a shopping list for people who want a large body bag count. There's no doubt in my mind that anyone having a gun in that restaurant that day would have made a difference. The body count would have been much lower. Several of the people who were killed also had their guns out in their vehicles. We had no way of carrying them legally at that point in Texas.
Some Virginia Tech students say they wish students had been allowed to carry guns, because one of them might have stopped the killer before he shot so many people. And that's what happened 5 years ago at the Appalachian School of Law. Hearing shots, 2 students went to their cars, got their guns, and helped restrain this shooter until police arrested him.
So lack of guns actually contribute to these massacres, as mad people seek out gun-free zones to slaughter as many people as possible. Either that, or mad people try massacres everywhere, and they never turn into massacres because some law-abiding citizen holding a gun ends the madness. But still, anti-gun lobbyists might say America has a very high gun-related crime rate and we have lots of guns. Is there any correlation? And the answer is no. Austria has a higher gun crime rate, and they banned guns decades ago. And probably the best example is Switzerland. There, citizens are required to have handguns and military-style fully automatic weapons in their home and ammunition on hand at all times. And Switzerland has one of the lowest gun crime rates in the world. Canada has the same gun heritage as the United States and the same very high ratios of firearms per capita, but a much lower crime rate.
So, gun control isn't necessarily crime control. In fact, the National Academy of Sciences reviewed hundreds of studies and could not document a single gun regulation that reduced violent crime or murder.
After hundreds of gun-related legislations, not one has reduced crime. Like I said at the beginning, the suggestion that gun bans cause less gun crime is a reasonable theory, but it turns out not to be true. In fact, over and over and over again, after banning guns, crime rates soar. With the benefit of the evidence and the hindsight, it's easy to explain why. Criminals don't obey laws. They don't hand in their guns, and law-abiding citizens who do become easy targets. The lack of guns emboldens the criminals to act more frequently. I don't know what causes the U.S. to have high crime rates. Maybe it's the violence on TV and video games. Maybe it's the government-run education system. Maybe it's the fact that the U.S. government is the world's most prolific perpetrator of violence in the last 50 years. Maybe it's because America sees itself as the policeman of the world. Maybe it's something else. I don't know what it is, but I do know the evidence is overwhelming that it is not the accessibility or high number of guns in the U.S. And every day that people waste time trying to ban guns is energy they could be putting into solving the problem of violent crime. Next, we will critique the arguments of the other side of the fence. I've noticed 5 arguments in favor of not restricting gun ownership. What blows me away is the top 2 reasons are almost never discussed when debating the issue. But we will cover that in our next episode. Until then, please go ahead and like this video and share it on Facebook, and email it to your friends as well. Check out more of our videos at SuccessCouncil.com.